Why, hello there. Come on in. Take your shoes off. Let me take your jacket. Have a seat. Let me roll you a J and pour you a glass of Chardonnay. Welcome to Dank Times, Danker Thoughts, episode 122. God damn! And it's me, Angelo. I just got back from my Idaho trip, and I was completely right in my thinking on the last few episodes that it was a little worrisome to me that I was so anxious and nervous doing something with my friends that I have been wanting to do forever. And now that it's actually happening, I was just freaking out about it, to be dramatic. And I knew the reasons why. I think the pandemic has fucked me up in ways that I'm only now realizing and I'm willing to admit that being closed off from a lot of my friends and family for more than two to 2.5 years, however long it's been, that it has started to change the way that I act and feel and plan social situations, whether it be with coworkers at work, family at gatherings, or my best friends on a getaway. And once I got there, it was a perfect orgasmic time. It was amazing. And I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. But I still couldn't get over the fact that I was leaving my routine that I have built up around me like some kind of weird black ochreish igloo. And no matter how many times I told myself, Angelo, once you arrive in Idaho on Lake Hope, is that the lake? No, the town is called Hope. I don't know what the lake is called in Hope. But I kept telling myself, once you arrive, everything's going to be groovy, and it was. But I got to tell you, the few days leading up to it, my sleep started to suffer. I could not fall asleep or sleep soundly. And I was on like a 3 month, 4 month nice sleeping binge, and I loved every minute of it. And suddenly, a couple days before this trip, I started to sleep like shit. I started to get stomach aches. I mean, it was disgusting. I was really feeling like a real pussy piece of shit. And my brain was telling the rest of my body what's what. Like my brain is telling my stomach, chill. My brain is telling my mind to chill because the brain is like the circuit board. Now some people are confused. Well, Angela, what's the difference between your mind and your brain? The brain is just the gelatinous, jello-ish, jellyfish-like substance inside your cranium that has that disgusting nervous system that looks like some weird carnivorous plant type creature. If you really want to just get freaked out, look at what the central nervous system looks like without like bones and muscles and fat and danky shit. It looks freaky. I mean, it looks like we're floating jellyfish with eyeballs up in space. It's fucking wild. But anyway, I digress. Your mind is what your brain does. The mind is like the actions, the thoughts, the reckonings, the emotions. The brain is just the goo. The mind, the way that I look at it, the mind is what the brain does. So I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know if I'm sounding like a short bus window licker, but I'm telling you, to me, that makes perfect sense. So my brain is telling my mind to stop making up these fantastical, problematic, end of the world type scenarios for what only turned out to be a day and a half trip, maybe 2 days. And I'll get into that in a second. So it was all a much ado about nothing. I had to change my plans constantly, and I think that was making a stressful situation even worse because I ended up having to go with my third option at driving. And my initial guy that I was going to go with, he just stopped returning my texts and calls. And I had to go through an intermediary to find out that he wasn't going to go because he could not get the time off. And I don't know why he could not have told me that, but that's fine. I'm not as close to this particular person as I am other people in the group, obviously. So then plan B was to go with another friend, and he had to drop out the day before because his wife caught COVID. And you can't really fault anybody. But now I'm scrambling because it's a day or two before I was supposed to leave with this second individual. My initial plan was to go Thursday to Monday. Others were going, I believe, Wednesday to Wednesday, and that's just too long for me. I can't do that. Even Thursday to Monday was a little bit too long. What I wanted was maybe a Friday evening to Monday afternoon. That's kind of what I wanted. But anyway, so once my second option dropped out, I was really thinking about just calling my friends and like, guys, I don't know what I'm going to do. I may just have to drop out. And you may be asking yourself, well, Angelo, why don't you just drive your dumb ass yourself? Well, I would have, but I did not plan that. The plan was to always go with my first option. The first guy, we were in agreement on dates and everything for months. And so that he dropped out a week before, that shifted everything. If I'm going to go on a 6-hour drive, well, coming back it was 6.5 hours because fuck you, Cleellum. Whenever I drive through Cleellum, Washington, it's always a goddamn cluster figgity figgity fuck. It takes me over an hour every time I just to go through this little podunk shithole town. So fuck you, Cleellum. Figure it out. I don't know if you got to go to Olympia, ask for more funding for your roads, but figure it the fuck out. Or I'm about to move to Cleellum and run for city council if you even have a local government there, Cleellum. You fucks. But anyway, so one of the main reasons why I did not drive myself is that before I go on something like a 6 to 7 hour drive, I need to service my car. Now, technically, I was not due for a oil change, but if I'm going on a 6.5 hour drive, I want to check my entire car system regardless. I'm not a car guy, so I don't know what shit's called, but basically, how you go see a doctor for a checkup, I wanted to do that for my car. Whenever I go on long drives, and I know I'm personally driving, I always take my car in about a week or two before, and I always plan it out. And the second reason I didn't drive is that my tabs are expired. And I didn't want to fuck with those overzealous Idaho State Patrol. So those are the main reasons why. But anyway, so I was on the verge of canceling everything. And then finally, my third buddy, and a close friend, he had to cut his trip short because he was having pet cat issues. He lives alone like me, and he has a cat like me, and he has an older male cat that was really, really sick. He had to be around his cat 24/7 to clean up the messes, to give him the pills, and just monitor him. So originally, this third guy was going to go on the Wednesday to Wednesday schedule, but because of his cat, he said, I can only really go for the important stuff on the cabin, meaning the fantasy football draft. That's one of the main reasons we're going out there, besides to just get fucked up and have a good time. So he said, I can really only go Friday to Sunday. And I thought, shit, is that my only option? And I double checked with everyone else, and nobody was leaving on that Thursday and Friday. Everybody was either already there or on their way there. So I said, okay. So I ended up going from Friday to Sunday. I wish I could go for one more day. I really do. But we did cram a lot of fun stuff into just a day and a half. Now, we had to wake up at like 4 or 3 in the morning on Friday so that we were on the road by 6, because that's what he wanted, and I'm not going to bitch and moan. I died a little bit inside when I realized I had to wake up at 4 in the morning, but then I said, you know what? People do it every goddamn day. Modernity's got me pussified, so figure it the fuck out, bitch. And that's what I did. And we were on the road by 6, and we got out there a little bit after 12:30, and the rest was gold. The rest was gold. It was such a fun and much-needed trip for me. And it just is astonishing and slightly embarrassing how nervous and freaked out I was about the whole thing leading up to the trip. But I can tell you a little bit about the trip. Mostly, we were either in the cabin getting fucked up on booze, smoking copious amounts of Diddy Dank. But your boy can't drink like he used to. I brought a lot of liquor. And when we first got there, I said, let's do tequila shots. I did one shot of tequila, and I was immediately drunk. And I tried drinking one of those mixed bullet bourbon drinks that I find. There's 2 versions. I bought the Manhattan, and I bought the Old Fashioned. And they are bullet bourbon pre-made drinks. You just have to put them on ice. And I tell you, I had a quarter of the Manhattan one, and your boy could barely function. So I had to end up dumping it because it was too strong for me. So Jesus Christ, this is embarrassing, but I had to stop drinking liquor, and I'm not much of a beer fan anymore. It has to be specific instances or specific celebrations for me to enjoy a beer or two. But I probably put away a dozen or so of those hard seltzers. I used to make fun of the White Claws and the Trulies and everything, but there's so many options with those hard seltzers, and some of the flavors are really good that I just said fuck it, and I embraced it. In fact, I went to Costco today and I loaded up on them. So, the liquor fucks me up too quickly. Beer, I'm not a fan, but those hard seltzers I can drink all day long. And it lies to you in believing that they are the healthier alternative because there's less sugar and it keeps you more refreshed and hydrated. I don't know how accurate that is because we were all drinking these hard seltzers and everybody was getting sunburned and sweating and looking like they were about to die from heat stroke. So I don't know how accurate that healthy alternative label is to those hard seltzers. But anyway, that was mostly what we were doing inside the cabin. Some of the guys fished. I'm not a fisherman. I don't have a license and I don't want to break the law. So I kind of just hung out on the dock. Like I said, smoked and drank and chit chatted. We did our poker night. Actually, we played a lot of poker for draft position for fantasy football. Later in the episode, I'll tell you about my team. And we spent about half the other time outside, either sleeping outside, looking at shooting stars, the stars. There was lightning storms in the far off distance. It just seemed like I was in a different world at some points in the trip because, I live in the suburbs or I go into the city. I don't really get to see shooting stars, and you rarely get to see stars at all. But it was so crystal clear out there that we even were able to spot Mars and Venus. Venus was so bright. It was beautiful. But yeah, and there was a lot of cool animals out there, a lot of deer. It is in a protected national park, I believe, is where Hope, Idaho is. And so you can't hunt out there. So there were just wild deer running around. And I saw bats and owls at night. It was great. It was beautiful. But some of these houses on the lake. Now, my friend's cabin is probably the white trashiest cabin on the lake. And it's still pretty nice in my standards. Book-ended this cabin were a $40 million home, and I think they said once the second home is done building, it's going to be close to 40 to 45 million. So you're bookended by almost $90 million, and their cabin I don't think costs more than $400,000. So the locals in this area are a big fan of my friends and their cabin because the people that live on this lakefront, people, I don't know any of them, obviously. How could I? But some of them are just the most gorgeous, extravagant, but gaudy houses I've ever seen. One of our neighbors, for example, is from that pyramid scheme called Al-Anon. It's a compound, but it looks like a small village, and it's all new and upkept very nicely. And they told me that was close to $100 million there. Pardon me while I sip my coffee here. There were houses that were built to look like Victorian era castles or French style castles. I mean, there was compound after compound after compound. We saw someone build a hobbit hole after, of course, Lord of the Rings, and I, of course, fell in love and started masturbating right then and there on the boat in front of all my friends. And then my friend said, "You think that hobbit hole is good? You should see the other one." And I said, "Wait a minute, there's two hobbit holes in this fucking lake?" He said, "Oh yeah, and the second one is even nicer than this one." But unfortunately, we never could see it because we had to leave on Sunday. So next year, I'll take a look at the bigger, better, brighter hobbit hole. And the creme de la creme was a giant, still being built house. But it's what I saw. It looked beautiful. And that's owned by Matthew McConaughey. All right, all right, all right. Our future president, the way that some people talk and believe. You know what? I'd vote for him. What the fuck? He can't be any worse than who we have running now. But anyway, and the house was so nice. But what the cherry on top of everything is that part of the property is the small island about 200-300 yards out, and he also bought that. So the motherfucker owns, I would say about a 5-acre island right next to his large property, and it's just crazy. But I'm gonna be posting pictures on social media here soon. I of course would always forget my phone when I would go on the boat, so I have to have my friends send me their photos because we were taking some beautiful photos, not just of the houses, but of just everything. So all in all, I rate the trip a 69 420 out of 10. I highly recommend you take a trip with me. I know how to partay. And yeah, I'm glad I went. The one thing I did not do was I did not wakeboard or wake surf because that's not me. Surprise, surprise, I'm not a sportsy outdoorsman kind of guy. When I'm on a boat, I like to get fucked up, put my sunscreen on, and just chill and chit-chat, listen to music, and just take it all in. And that's what I did. We did go swimming in this mineral lake. It's supposed to have healing properties because of the sediment and the mud and whatever. It's supposed to be good for your skin. It exfoliates and all that bullshit. So I put mud all over my fucking body. I did feel smooth in the evening. I felt like I was silk, but I don't know exactly if it truly does anything. Although one of the pieces of sand sliced the fuck out of my left shoulder, but it's all right now. And yeah, and when we were swimming to the shallow part, it was a bit more of a swim than everyone expected. Some stayed in the boat, and myself and about five other of my friends, we went swimming towards the coast. We thought we'd be able to touch after 10 or 12 feet, but it turned out to be about a 200-yard swim, and two out of the five guys weren't making it. Luckily, I stayed behind to watch one, but I am kind of embarrassed to say that when my friend started to yell for help and ask for the life jacket, I thought he was joking. I thought he was busting balls. That's what we do. We make fun of each other. And I didn't act accordingly. And in fact, I was swimming away from him because I thought, this guy's fucking around. But then I realized that when I looked back that he was not swimming. He was just kind of panting and splashing around. I thought, oh shit, this guy really needs it. So I started swimming back to him. And then another one of my friends who was right next to me started yelling for help too, and I thought for sure he was joking. So I left him to go help my first buddy, but as I was swimming to my first buddy, I realized, shit, my second buddy ain't fucking around either. But luckily, one of our friends was there to help him. In fact, the guy that drove me was able to help him. But yeah, that was scary, seeing two of my friends really struggle like that. Yeah, you can definitely tell who the athletes are in situations like that. And I don't view myself as an athlete. I mean, I wasn't wakeboarding, I wasn't jet skiing, I wasn't doing any of that shit because I don't know how to, nor do I want to learn at this point. But we were throwing footballs around, and I thought for sure I could throw a decent football these days, and I sure couldn't. Maybe I was fucked up and getting heat stroke, but it doesn't matter. But whew, I'm happy that everything worked out with my buddies there. I think it was an eye opener for one of them. But that was really the only red flag on the whole trip. Scary moment, but luckily everyone was there and we had life jackets in the boat right there. So yeah, it was a great time and I'm glad I went. But let me go ahead and pull up this fantasy football team here so that I can gloat and show you how I'm going to win the championship this year. I came close last year. I went to the championship and I lost in the finals because of that goddamn Jamar Chase. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was the second to last game of the season last year, and it was Patrick Mahomes against Joe Burrow, Cincinnati against Kansas City, and that was a shootout. And Jamar Chase, the wide receiver rookie of the Cincinnati, had something like 240 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he just kicked the shit out of me. But I digress. Let me go up and pull up this team. And I'm not going to finish second this year. I'm going to win the whole enchilada, baby. So leading up to the draft, we played a game of poker on 2 separate tables. And I was kicking ass until we joined tables because I made it through the first leg of the game. So now we're in the final game there. And your boy had pocket tens and there was pocket kings on the flop. So I had 2 pairs and I had the flush because one of the tens was a diamond and there were all diamonds on the table. So I said, not only do I have a pair, but I have the goddamn flush. So I went all in, trying to knock out the guy who was in the lead. I wouldn't have knocked him out, but I would have definitely taken the vast majority of his chips. And wouldn't you know it, he had the same kind of hand, except a higher flush. Oh! I had 10, he had fucking queen. Oh, son of a bitch. So I was kicked out of the game. They said, okay, you now can choose where you want to pick. Some people want to pick last, some people want to pick middle, who knows? Because we do a snake draft. And I chose to pick last, so I would get back-to-back picks. Downside of that is obviously you have to wait the longest until you can pick again, but you will always be picking back-to-back picks, which is nice, at least for me. So I was picking last. And in the first round, this is a 12-person league, I chose DeAndre Swift, the running back of Detroit, and Stephon Diggs, the wide receiver in Buffalo. And then with my third and fourth pick, I believe I picked David Montgomery, the running back in Chicago, and T. Higgins, the wide receiver from Cincinnati. And then my next picks were Dalton Schultz, the tight end from Dallas, and Marquise Brown, the new Arizona wide receiver. He got traded in the offseason. I believe he was the number 1 receiver in Baltimore. And he was supposed to be a complimentary receiver in Arizona with Dustin Hopkins, or DeAndre Hopkins. Dustin Hopkins is a kicker. But DeAndre Hopkins has been suspended for, I think, 6 or 7 games. So now Brown is the number 1 receiver there. Not too bad for a flex. And then I picked Joe Burrow, and I believe it was Rashad Penny was the next 2 picks. And then I picked Noah Fant and Chase Claypool. I couldn't believe Chase Claypool, probably the number 2 and could be the number 1 receiver in Pittsburgh, was sitting there like in the 8th round. When did I get Claypool? Drafted 132nd. Well, that doesn't tell me anything. I want to know what round. But anyway, I then picked Derek Carr to be my backup to Joe Burrow. McCole Hardman, the struggling receiver in Kansas City. But I'm taking a flyer on McCole Hardman because that Kansas City offense is so potent and good. And they lost 2 of their top receivers. And although they did pick up Marquez Valdez-Scantling from Green Bay and Juju Smith, who is that motherfucker from Pittsburgh? Juju Smith-Schuster from Pittsburgh. But McCole Hardman, I thought would be the new Tyreek Hill, because Tyreek Hill, arguably the best receiver in football, him and Devontae Adams, but he also got traded this offseason too. So you would thought McCole Hardman would be taking over that Tyreek Hill spot. So he was sitting there. When did I get him? 156th. That's pretty good. And then I took some flyers on some rookies. I picked Dameon Pierce. He's a rookie running back in Houston. And what's this motherfucker's name? Tyler Algier, the rookie running back from Atlanta. Both of them were drafted in the expectation that they would compete for carries, but after training camp in the first preseason game, and the fact that Houston and Atlanta don't have one back that's going to get 20 to 25 carries a game, it's all running back by committee, I thought, perfect. That way they're going to get 5 to 7 carries a game, and if they do well, they'll be given a little bit more, and so I may have steals here. So Pierce and Algier were the final offensive players I picked, and with my last 2 picks, my starting defense for the year is the Los Angeles Chargers. I think with the addition of Khalil Mack and Josh Jones in the secondary, that team is going to be good. And my kicker, I don't really give a fuck, so I picked the Philadelphia kicker because I think, I don't know how good Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be this year, but they always tend to get in the red zone. So if they can't finish the drives, at least they have a decent kicker there. So there's my team. Not too bad. Joe Burrow, DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery, Stephon Diggs, T. Higgins, Dalton Schultz, Malcolm Brown, Chargers defense, and Jake Elliott from Philly is my kicker. And the bench is pretty loaded, in my opinion, with Rashad Penny, Derek Carr, Noah Fant. I know I picked 2 Seahawks there, but I couldn't let Noah Fant go. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people, especially with our struggling quarterbacks that we're probably going to have. They're going to need a quick outlet, and that's what a tight end is. And Noah Fant is one of the better ones in the league. And Chase Claypool is another steal of a pick, in my opinion. McCole Hardman could be a steal if he puts it together. And then those 2 rookies, Pierce and Algier. So all in all, I give this team at least an A-. Now, ESPN, where we do these drafts, gave me, I believe, a C+. And I didn't read why, because fuck you, ESPN. But I think the reason why is that I picked DeAndre Swift and David Montgomery to be my 2 bell cows. And they're on shitty teams. Detroit and Chicago, on paper, are not meant to do much this year. So I'm banking that they take a step forward. And specifically Detroit. I think Detroit's going to open some eyes. I don't think they're going to get more than 6 or 7 wins. But DeAndre Swift looks like the new... what's his name from New Orleans? He's facing a suspension. Kamara. DeAndre Swift looks like a new Alvin Kamara. David Montgomery, now I think that could be a risky pick, but he was sitting there in the, I believe, 3rd or 4th round, and you can't pass up a running back that's going to get at least 20 carries a game, because they don't really have I guess they have a complimentary back, but he's not good enough to take away the position just yet from Montgomery, and I hope that he doesn't. So yeah, all in all, I'm pretty ecstatic with my fantasy football team. And with that, I think we're done with my fantasy football team. Yeah, the Mariners are up and down. We took a series from the New York Yankees, which was thrilling, but then we lost the series to Texas, which doesn't make any sense because the Texas Rangers are pretty goddamn bad. And now we're playing the Angels, and we barely beat them in the first game. So this Jekyll and Hyde nonsense with the Mariners is killing me. But we're winning, so I don't give a fuck. As I speak, currently, we have the number 1 wild card spot again. When I was in Idaho and we were struggling against the Rangers, we did fall into the last position in the wild card standings, but then we won a few games and we went back up. So that's great. The Seahawks' first preseason game, I wasn't able to watch it because I was at the cabin. I thought we'd turn it on, but the reception was a bit off, so we just said fuck it. so we were kind of following it on our phones. And what are you going to take away? It's a preseason game. The rookies played like shit for the most part on defense, but the offensive line rookies look good. Our running backs look good. The seventh round rookie wide receivers looked good. And, say what you will, but Geno Smith and Drew Lock, they didn't look atrocious. They looked slightly average at quarterback. They missed some throws. They held the ball a little too long, but they also made some plays. Drew Lock has a cannon of an arm, but he just has accuracy issues, whereas Geno Smith doesn't have the accuracy issues, but he does not have an arm on him. He's not going to be throwing more than 20-yard passes, whereas Drew Lock has the ability to do such things, but again, he may be throwing them to the wrong team. And so we lost, but who gives a fuck? It's preseason. But yeah, I was encouraged by the offensive side of the ball, not so much the defense. Our rookie corners really struggled, but they got better as the game progressed. But our run defense was atrocious against Pittsburgh, and we were playing starters, so that's a little concerning. The pass rush, not a lot of starters were playing, but we did have our second-round rookie, Boy Maffei, however you say his name. He had a monster game, and it looks like if he plays like the way he did against the backups in Pittsburgh, who knows, but that pick will be well warranted. He had 3 tackles, including 2 sacks and a forced fumble, so all indications that we have a stud on our hands. But let's pump our brakes here a little bit, Angelo. It's a preseason game. He was playing it against the backups, but he himself is a backup. So if you're slaughtering the competition at backups, then you deserve to get promoted to see what you can do against the top level competition. And that's what I hope we do when we play Chicago on Thursday. But with that, we're done with sports. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the news because not really much happened while I was gone. Besides, the whole FBI raiding the ex-president's home. That whole thing, Trump versus the FBI. I was waking up on Friday, and I believe the FBI went to Mar-a-Lago on Thursday, so it literally just happened. And then I was kind of off my phone for a couple days, but we tried to stay abreast in Idaho what was going on, but shit's wild. So, I guess I can go into it now. My 2 cents is, excellent. Good job, FBI. I'm still not a huge fan of the FBI because they have a checkered past, to say the least. But come on. Trump was asking for it. You play fucked up games, Trump. You win fucked up prizes, okay? It is treasonous what he's doing. I don't give a fuck what his supporters say. I don't give a fuck that people still believe that this is some master plan by Trump, which the retardation in that Kool-Aid that those Trumpers drink is always astounding to me. Once I think they can't hit rock bottom, they pick up a shovel and a pickaxe and they say, oh no, we can dig deeper. I just don't get it. It's wild and it's infuriating. It's sometimes comical, and then you realize that, oh, they actually believe this. It's not that funny anymore. And then you get sad and mopey and depressed and angry. But anyway, Christ. I do like it how immediately the right-wing tards of Congress and Fox News wanted answers, and the FBI was like, okay, we'll tell you everything, and they did. And it was nice to see Merrick Garland actually say, I did this myself. I signed the paperwork allowing this. So fuck what you think was going to happen, Trump. You tried stealing the election. You're a traitor. You're trying to sell your shit off to the highest bidder. You have nuclear documents at Mar-a-Lago, and there's so much evidence. And just between what the FBI is currently doing and then the January 6th commission, when you couple those together, you can't fathom how anyone would still vote for him. But then you look at the polls, which could be misleading. Trump still has a stranglehold on the Republican Party. I think they said 8 now because the pro-impeachment Republican from this state lost. So now 8 out of the 10 Republicans that voted to impeach Donald Trump are either not serving anymore because they lost their re-election or they just dropped out. Not good. And as I'm recording this, the Wyoming primaries are tonight, and Liz Cheney is expected to get her ass kicked. So that will be the 9th Republican to lose their Congress spot because of Donald J. Trump. So you hope that the FBI can do something and convict him, and you hope the January 6th leads to something. We cannot have this man running. He is a danger to democracy. I will talk to any level-headed Trump supporter as long as they're respectful, as I will respect them, and I will talk to you about such things. But once it gets to be racist or sexist or vile, and I'm not saying you all are that, I'm not saying all Trump supporters are racist, but all racists sure do seem to be Trump supporters. So go fuck yourselves. So I guess we can just keep running down the big news stories. Yes, Liz Cheney's probably going to lose, and Sarah Palin looks like she's going to return to politics, as she's going to win in Alaska, it looks like. But back to Trump really quick. It sure does seem that there is a cooperating witness against Trump per the FBI. If I had to guess, I would say it's probably someone on the Secret Service because he's put those bozos through a lot of shit lately. One of his lawyers, actually more than one, are under investigation for breaching sensitive election info. Okay, it's not looking good for Trump. Even Tucker Carlson is seemingly throwing in the towel, but you would not have guessed it by watching other shows on Fox News or other outlets online, because it sure seems like the FBI raiding Mar-a-Lago is motivating a lot of Republican voters. But you have to wonder how accurate and valid are those reports, because people were already going to turn out in droves to vote for the president, especially this next cycle, and especially if the Democrats can figure out a better alternate than Old Man Joe, because currently that motherfucker, I know he's taking his celebration turn because he's signing that climate and tax and health bill, which is good. Don't get me wrong. We needed that bill to pass. We needed that bill to pass decades or years ago. But again, it pales into comparison what that bill should have passed. But what are you going to do? So, fuck the Trumpers if they still believe in all this nonsense and still want to vote for him. But, much like the Democrats, if I was a Republican and I despised Trump and I look at the alternative options on the Republican ticket, I don't know, DeSantis doesn't do it for me. Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney don't do it for me. Ted Cruz doesn't do it for me. I don't know. The Republicans may be in the same shithouse as the Democrats and trying to find a viable candidate. Because the extremists, they're the ones that want Trump. The evangelical extremists want Pence. DeSantis is kind of like a plan B for a lot of those people. But on the Democrats, who do we have? Who's our DeSantis? I don't know. I sure don't know. Certainly it's not going to be a Bernie. Bernie, as much as I love him, god damn, he's getting old. Even though his ideas are still fresh and hip and new and up to date with the current society, we don't really have a Bernie Jr. to put all our hopes and prayers in. So that's why I'm a big fan of Jon Stewart running, but what are you going to do? I may be alone in that. Last thing I'll say about this whole FBI Trump thing is you already saw one knucklehead in Cincinnati try to kill people in the Cincinnati FBI office. Turned out that then he fled from the scene. There was a high pursuit chase, and he ended up killing himself. And there has already been many threats against FBI officials and FBI headquarters since the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago. And the FBI is already saying, look, man, there's going to be a violent attack. It just is going to happen, okay? And that's a sad thing in this country. When you have an obvious reason why you have to do this Mar-a-Lago raid. Like, it's common sense. Like, even a deaf, dumb, mute orangutan could understand that Trump needs to go to jail, okay? So the fact that people are getting angry with this and saying the FBI is now turned. They loved the FBI when it was investigating Hillary. They loved the FBI whenever they were investigating the Bidens or any Democrat they were a fan of. But once the FBI starts investigating Republicans, well, this thing is fixed. It's fucking George Soros is doing it. Fucking Bill and Hillary Clinton and the Obamas. And they just lose their fucking mind. For a political party that supports law enforcement, it really does flip on a dime if the law enforcement is turned against conservatives or Republicans. So you're not really the law enforcement party, just like you're not a real pro-life party because you don't give a fuck about mental health issues, or you don't give a fuck about just health in this country. You don't give a fuck about the babies once they're born. You don't give a fuck about funding education. I can go on and on. There's no such thing as a pro-life Republican. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. Yeah, it's the same fucking thing with law enforcement. You could put all your Blue Lives Matter bumper stickers on your car and support the blue, but then you talk about lynching and killing FBI agents. So, no, you're fucking scum, vile, traitorous, and, I shouldn't say all that. Let me back up. I just feel bad for them, okay? I do. Because they must hate their life so much if this is how they choose to live it, and believing these wild conspiracies. They believe in Kellyanne Conway's alternative facts, because when the truth goes against what you believe in instead of admitting to yourself, well, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I need to look into myself and figure out why did I believe such falsities. You then try to fixate on, this is wrong. I have to twist this and manipulate it to serve my goal here. There's no way in hell Trump did anything wrong. It's the FBI's fault. And it's just never ending. And we just can't quit him, okay? He's like a bad ex that's good in bed, but you just fucking hate everything else about the individual. But they let you do whatever they want to him in the sack, and they have a lot of money, so you keep hanging them around. That's how fucking awful and toxic this relationship is with Trump and the U.S. Oh, I wish there was a COVID variant that would only take out MAGA, but I don't think China's going to create one to do that. Oh, but anyways, but with that, I think it was the news. I don't want to spend a lot of time on the news. I'm in a good mood. So yeah, let's talk about some fun stuff. Let me whip out this journal of mine. It's time for Angelo's journal. What's it gonna be? Horse shit or cool shit? Let's find out. For those of you that don't know, that was the poorly made up on the spot jingle of Angelo's journal, where I read from a journal entry that I haven't looked at since I originally put it in. Every now and then I put what I hope to be is good content in there. So here we go. But before I open that, let me take a little hit here. Oh yeah. I don't remember what I'm smoking here. Oh yeah. Feels good. Feels good. All right. Oh, Christ. All right. First entry here. Quentin Tarantino on the Joe Rogan podcast. Well, shit. I think he was on the Joe Rogan podcast like a year ago. Fuck, I'm behind on this journal. I have an idea for Quentin Tarantino's final 2 movies. Oh, yeah. Okay. Quentin Tarantino has promised to only do 1 more movie, and then he's done forever. He's going to go out on top, I believe. And he was talking to Joe Rogan about his ideas for the last movie. But I have always thought he was doing 2 more movies, because I thought he signed on to direct a Star Trek movie, and then he was going to direct his last Quentin Tarantino-esque movie. Because I don't think you can make a Quentin Tarantino, hard R rated Star Trek. I don't think they're gonna let Quentin Tarantino put the N-word in Star Trek. But yes, the whole thing is, I don't know if that Star Trek thing is accurate, but I guess I could look that up before I go in any more in the entry. Let's see, Quentin Tarantino, Star Trek. Here we go. For a brief period in the 2010s, Tarantino got to live out the fantasy of every Star Trek fan by taking the reins on a new Star Trek movie. In December 2017, the news broke that Tarantino himself had approached Paramount with a very distinctive idea for a Star Trek movie. Okay, well, what happened to it? Oh, I gotta click on it and read it. Oh my God. Oh, let's see. Understandably, the studio responded enthusiastically to the concept of a Tarantino Star Trek movie. And Mark L. Smith, whoever that is, was hired to pen the screenplay for the film. At any point after Pulp Fiction dropped into movie theaters, the concept of Tarantino... Okay, now they're talking about Tarantino. I don't give a fuck about that. What happened to the actual Star Trek movie? Despite having so much importance to Paramount Pictures, there was minimal movement on Tarantino's Star Trek project immediately after its announcement. There was to be expected given that his next effort was always meant to be Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, with this period piece taking up all of the man's focus for the foreseeable future. Tarantino confirmed as much in April 2019 when he noted that once he was finished with Rick Dalton and company, I think those are the characters in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he would be reconvening with Paramount about the possibility of directing something involving the Star Trek universe. 2 months later, Tarantino confirmed that the Star Trek film, like all of his directorial efforts, would be rated R, a far cry from the earliest installment of the saga that had garnered PG ratings. The underlying importance of a project that Tarantino wouldn't be able to commit to for a while was underscored just a few months before these remarks, when a proposed Star Trek Beyond sequel helmed by S.J. Clarkson collapsed. Again, I don't know who these people are. Okay, can I just see what happened to the movie? I don't want to read the Bible here. All right, let me skip ahead here. In August 2021, someone, I don't know who this is, spilled the beans on what this proposed Tarantino Star Trek movie would have looked like by revealing that it would have been fixated on time travel and been primarily inspired by gangster movies. Oh, so I must have skipped it. Oh, okay, I missed a paragraph here. In November 2019, the worst case outcome finally came to pass when Tarantino told some jabroni that he was looking to steer away from his proposed Star Trek movie. Okay, so it fell through, and the rest of this is all bullshit gossip. Okay, so then so he's not doing the Star Trek movie. I'm glad we settled that. So then we're back to his last movie, and this goes well with the journal entry here. I have an idea for Tarantino's final two movies. Well, really, just one. His 10th one, supposedly his last one, to end on top and then retire. My idea is he directs his 10th film for his fans. Okay, well, then I don't really have a fucking idea for a movie now, do I? Old, stoned, in the past Angelo. So all I say is he should direct the movie for his fans. What the fuck does that mean? Everyone's his fan that likes movies. Ugh, stupid. Then he takes a few years off for his newborn child to grow. Oh, okay. Tarantino just had a kid, that's right. So he takes some time off. So he directs his movie for his fans. And then takes some time off and lets his newborn grow up with him. Because I think that's why he is taking time off. Then he comes back and makes one more film, but make it a children's film. Now that I'm all for. Okay, the initial part of this entry is garbage. But I do like the idea of directing your 10th and last movie, taking some years off, just hanging with the family, watching your kid become someone that you never thought you'd have, and really be around the whole children literature, children movies, all that stuff. And how fun would it be to see Quentin Tarantino in a couple of years come out of retirement and say, I'm going to direct a child's movie. And you can make it PG, because I really do think, given the content and given his acumen for directorial genius, that Tarantino would make a bonkers but beautiful and probably heartfelt children's movie. I mean, it would probably be something like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, or what's that David Bowie movie that I never saw, The Labyrinth? I mean, think of the more wild children's movies, The Never-Ending Story, things like that. Think of wild shit like that, that on paper you're like, kids aren't going to like this, and then becomes a phenomenon and cult status. And I think Tarantino could do that. He could write something himself, obviously, or if he's going to maybe adapt something like he did with Jackie Brown, I think he could do a out-of-sight job there. That'd be kind of cool. So there you go. There's my idea for Quentin Tarantino's last and maybe hopeful 11th movie for children. Okay, a list of people we can forgive now. Oh my God, this is really old. Let's see. Do I even want to read this? Because I think I've talked about this in other episodes. Well, I'll just tell you what's on my entry here. A list of people we can forgive now. Mel Gibson, Louis C.K., the politician that was a comedian from Minnesota, I'm drawing a blank, and Johnny Depp, etc. That's funny. Mel Gibson, I mean, he's in big movies now, and I think anyone with common sense can realize that, look, yeah, he said some racist shit, but he also was drunk and angry and going through a divorce, so who doesn't say horrific, awful things when you're going through a divorce, your career is ending, and you're losing all your money, and it doesn't help that you're also shit-faced. So I don't blame Mel Gibson for some of his choice words. How could you? We've all been there. Surely, most men can empathize with Mel Gibson, and probably most women. We've all been there. Louis C.K., yeah, I always thought that was overblown personally. Now, true, he could have used his power to coerce those yeses from the women, but it is important to remind everyone that every woman he did that to said yes and gave consent, although I understand the power dynamic there, so it's not a open and shut case. But I think he has earned his comeback. I mean, he lost everything. I mean, say what you will about the man, his profession, he's arguably the best comedian out there, up there with Dave Chappelle and Bill Burr. Arguably, Louis C.K.'s up there with the Richard Pryors and Rodney Dangerfields. Anyway, I think we can forgive him. And we already forgave Johnny Depp. And the comedian from Minnesota, there was a politician. Is that Frank? Who was that? Let me see. I hate it when I can't think of people's. I can see him too. SNL politician. Al Franken. God damn, I'm stupid. Yeah, I think we can forgive Al Franken. He never should have been canceled. That's when I knew the Me Too thing had jumped the shark is when Al Franken got canceled. But anyway, that entry is old. So let's go to one more and then we can wrap up here. All right, last entry here. Freeloading animals are the worst. Freeloading animals? What? I'm watching this animal documentary on BBC Earth. These dolphins swim onto the shore, pushing tons of water and fish onto the land, and then catch the fish flopping around back in their mouths, and then they go back in the water. However, okay, I remember this. However, a bunch of birds just hang out on the coast and gobble up most of the fish before the dolphins can get their reward. They bust their ass, and those freeloading birds are just taking them all. Yeah, it is interesting how in nature there's always the quote-unquote freeloading animals. I mean, my first thought is the fish that swim on the underside of whales and sharks and other giant marine animals. I mean, they spend their whole lives suctioned to the side of this giant animal and basically eat whatever leftovers it can, or I think it even eats the shit of the whale or shark. But yeah, those are freeloading animals. But yeah, the dolphin does all the fucking work, and then some fucking bird comes in and grabs the fish before the dolphin can get it. That's not fair. It's smart on the bird's part, but kind of a dick move. You would think the dolphin would grab a bird every now and then and baby shake it and see, like, that's what you get, bitch, and then throw it back. But maybe dolphins don't think like that, which is surprising, because dolphins are one of the more intelligent animals. They're one of the few animals that fuck for pleasure. They like to get high. They can solve riddles and puzzles and shit. They take LSD and get all fucked up. It's pretty cool, man. Dolphins are pretty rad. If I had to fuck one animal out of sheer pleasure, meaning that I would receive pleasure from it and so would the animal, I would have to say it's probably, yeah, a dolphin would make the list. Absolutely. Because if you're going to fuck an animal, you better fuck a intelligent animal that knows what's happening so that you're not, forcing yourself on an unsuspecting animal. Bestiality is an awful, horrific thing to do. But if you have to do it, at least do it with an animal that has the intelligence to like what's happening. And, you get a little foreplay going on. That's disgusting. Jesus Christ. Well, on the topic of dolphin fucking, I think we can wrap up. Oh, man, that joint is fucking me up. It's going to get my podcast taken off YouTube. Damn you, marijuana. It makes shit so funny. Well, we can wrap up here. Take it sleazy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Treat others as you want to be treated. And don't be a judgmental cunt, okay? Ask permission before you fuck an octopus, okay? Gross. Although I bet that suction would feel good for both males and females. But okay, we're done. We're not going to talk about what animals would be the best at fucking. We're done here. Oh, Christ. I'm going to get arrested after I post this. I just know it.